Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experiences. Today, we've had a little bit of a hiccup in starting the program. So I really want to do a sound check as quick as I can. I'm going to go over here to the chat room. I'm going to ask Kundalini O if you can hear me okay on the chat room, or guest any of the guests there, guest 443 and other folks. We've had a bit of a hiccup in the scheduling aspect of it. We made it for 3 a.m. instead of 3 p.m. And so, of course, the 3 a.m. show didn't happen. And so I want to make sure that I'm not just talking to the air. And I'm going to ask, can you hear? And we'll see if they have any responses there. Yep, well, okay. And even if I am talking to the air, then I want to welcome everybody to the program, all you air molecules to the program. And all you air molecules in the archives that will be calling in later on to because you're probably working now or sleeping now. And so I want to welcome you to the program. Welcome people in Facebook. As you know, as you may have known, if you don't know, I'll tell you right now. Amelia, she's taking a little bit of a break from Facebook, and so I'm not quite sure if that little triangle thingy on the Facebook notice for the radio show is up and running. Not quite sure how that works. But I'll be talking with her. She's actually going to be continuing to do the blog talk, at least this one. And so maybe we can query her about that. And so I'm checking the chat room again. I'm going to get started pretty quick here. Doesn't look like anybody is talking to me. Atlanta Seeker, can you tell me if you can hear the program? I'd appreciate it if you'd write in here. And I'm just going to go ahead, I think, and just start up. Well, I had all kinds of stuff kind of downloaded into me to talk about today, but in the last 10 minutes, literally in the last 10 minutes, I've had other additional scenarios come up, and these scenarios are difficult in the sense that thank you, Atlanta Seeker. These are difficult in the sense that they erode our levels of safety in the spiritual ascension process of the Kundalini. They erode our trust in these, in great personages of supposed love and supposed kindness and supposed caring, and actions of love and actions of acceptance and actions of spiritual safety that are false. False, certainly for the Kundalini awakened people, shall we put it that way. For the mundane people, you could go up and hug a rattlesnake that's disguised as a rose, and you probably won't get hurt, because you're seeing it as a rose, and any of the attachments that rattlesnake might have, it's not really going to hurt you because you're not opened yet. You're not opened up. Well, with the Kundalini, you're opened up. Okay. And so that rattlesnake, you'll see the rattlesnake for what it is. Depending, of course, how far you are into your process, you'll see that rattlesnake for what it is. For those earlier in the process, or those, in levels of resistance, wanting to cling to the mundane self, to mundane ideas, then you'll see a rose. You'll see a rose, but every now and again you might see a rattlesnake disguised as a rose. You go back and forth with that, and you may not have the level of discernment that you would hope. So this is one of the first things I want to talk about today, and I have a very clear download of the other stuff she wants me to say, and so I'll be saying that later on. I noticed that very few. I wonder. Boy, I sure hope I advertise this thing right. Okay, all right. Yeah, it looks like I have Bo and I have some guests on here, and then somebody called Kundalini Awakening O, which I like. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to suggest that people listen to the archive too, because we don't. Hopefully, this will just go the way it normally goes, and we'll see from there. But I have a sense that it'll be a little different for folks. I'm not quite sure where I'm getting that. Well, here we go. Right now, I'd like to. I don't like talking about these things that I'm about to talk about. I have to tell you. It just spreads such a level of negativity, and it crushes people's fantasies of trust and love, who you can trust, who you can't trust, type of thing. And geez, it's just. But I have to do it. All right, here we go. There are people that are considered great masters, even this day, going around and greeting thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and basically are not what they advertise themselves to be. Okay. One of these guys is Nityananda. He's a good-looking Indian guy that goes around. Now he's claiming that he awakens Kundalini. This was a Johnny-come-lately guy, but now he's I'm the great Kundalini master and blah blah blah. Before, the best he could do was teach people how to meditate. But now somehow, in some way, and because a lot of money is involved, he's going around awakening Kundalini people, but he's not. You see, he's not. People come to him with the desire to have the Kundalini awakened. And when you have thousands and thousands of people, let's say, in the same room or in the stadium or whatever, and they're all there for the same purpose, well, they form like a vortex. And the vortex is what I've called before in the program an egregore. It forms its own consciousness, and so everybody there is there, and they stand, or he stands up, and he says, "Oh, he says, your Kundalini is now awakened," and it's not, but they want it to be so much, and he'll give them examples of what they should be feeling or what they should be experiencing, and lo and behold, they're experiencing and feeling that without actually having the Kundalini awaken. Now, I'm not going to be absolutist, and I'm not going to say this happens for every single person. I'm not going to say that. I'm sure some people just needed that little bit of a trigger, that little bit of permission, and the Kundalini would indeed be awakened, or activated at least. So there is that. Another person that's coming around and doing all this stuff. And at the same time that this guy is falsely activating people, he is inserting entities into their process. I know I've gone over and over and over about the whole entity thing with people, but this is the truth. This is what's happening. And he's not the only one. Another one is even more popular than Nityananda is Amma. Amma is not what you think she is. I've had people Kundalini people go up to Amma and be completely infected with entities to the point where they have to go to the hospital and they have to get on heavy medication to keep out the voices that Amma gave them. Amma is a marionette for entities. Okay, her strings are being pulled by entities. And the entities are pulling her strings in order to attract people to her for her hug, for her love. It's like, oh, my child. You know, the great mother energy that she exudes, and that is, you know, fortified by all these people that want to believe and that want to, they need that mother. You know, they don't recognize the mother within themselves. They recognize the mother in Amma. And so once again, just like the mundane religions, it's an outside to in process, not an inside out. So you're just repeating the same mistake over and over and over and over until you start looking inside and then going outside. Put your clothes on first inside the house rather than going out naked and putting the clothes on outside the house. That analogy just came to me. So, yeah, people stand in these long, long, long lines for a free opportunity to be possessed by entities from Amma. And then and I've worked with people that I've been exposed to this whole Amma thing, and I like to call it the Amma ordeal, with Kundalini people for years, since like 2010, 2009. You know, I had a person in one of the groups, you know, and she was a devotee of Amma, and the entities that possess Amma possess all of her devotees as well. And they say, oh, you cannot talk about the work you do with Amma. Oh, you cannot say anything about Amma that is bad. Oh, you know, and it's just, there's a whole list of rules that you have to kind of go through in order to be a devotee of Amma. And Amma has all these assistant Ammas. And these assistant Ammas, you know, she calls them swamis. So these swamis go around, and it's like, you got a head swami for such and such an area. And of course, the swami is also possessed by the same entities that are possessing Amma and the same entities that are possessing the devotees. And you can kind of see where this is going. So Amma is another one. And she's really, actually, I feel, one of the most dangerous ones, because she comes off as the mother. She comes off as a source of spiritual, sacred femininity, which she is anything but. And so these thousands of people, they stand in this line all day in order to give Amma a hug. And once you get that hug, you got the transference right there. Actually, it's even before you get the hug. The hug just kind of seals the deal. So there's that. Amma is not, I would not recommend Amma to anybody that has Kundalini activated or wants to have it activated or is in the awakened state. Not a good plan. Unless you know that your Kundalini is already filtering out entity contact, which, you know, I'm finding that more and more rare as I continue to teach, within these areas. So really, it's not so easy that you get this spiritual blessing and you stand in line for hours and hours and hours. You come up and you hug Amma and it's like, oh my God. You know, you'll hear the mundane people going, oh my God, oh, I felt so transcendent. I saw God, you know, all of this stuff, you know, and it's just like, oh, please. Okay, great. I'm glad that in your little mundane world you have this experience, but for those that are actually into the Kundalini and the Kundalini is actually activating or awakening, those people do not go anywhere near Amma. Do not go anywhere near Nityananda. Do not go anywhere near these people. And what's that guy? Soupy, I forget his name. It's not Soupy. It's Muji. Muji's another one. But you may as well call him Soupy. Here's another individual that does not have the Kundalini, that is considered a god man, and has no clue about Kriyas, has no clue about anything, and yet, people go to his sangha, and he gives them generalized wisdom that, because it's coming from him, becomes very special to these people. I'm okay with that. If you're unawakened, if you're not activated, just fine. Go in there and listen. It's like, wow, it's really important to tie your shoes before you go jogging, because if you don't tie the shoes before you go jogging, you could trip. Oh, thank you, Muji, for your wise wisdom. I'm kind of poking a little fun at it right there, but the scenario is really the same. It's like, for the unawakened, it's fine. It'll work. It is a good thing. But for the awakened people, the activated people, not such a good thing. These people, you see, there's a reason why Nityananda, Amma, Muji, and some other folks don't mention entities. They don't mention entities. They don't recognize entities. The entity word never really comes up because they want everything to be just fine and happy. And they'll say, oh, well, Chrism, you evil little shit. You're just trying to scare people. Well, I have to say that it is a big aquarium, and it is in many ways, it's a mirror of the predatory world that we live in here, in this lower astral region that they are using. See, that's the platform for Amma, for Muji, for Nityananda, for these other folks. And I'm not going to say that these individuals started out that way. It's just how it evolved for them. And a lot of it is because they evolved in a certain way without the understanding that their own Hindu religion teaches them. You see, that's the other thing is, most of these people, all these people that I mentioned are Hindu. And I'm never going to say Hindu is bad, because it's not. It's a really good, pure religious system. But once again, it does not teach against the corruption of discarnate entities upon the Kundalini activated or awakened. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even teach that you can become activated or awakened unless you're Indian, unless you speak Sanskrit, unless you're living in India, unless you have a master, unless that master has a lineage. They got all these rules and regulations that are obviously put up by humans, and so they won't recognize you, or, you have to like fly through the air and they go, oh yeah, maybe they got Kundalini, so it becomes this big power play, this big power struggle about who is or who is not activated, and they don't recognize the possessive aspect of the lower astral interaction with Kundalini activated or awakened people. They just don't do it. They know they're safe to not do that, or at least they assume or at least they just play it safe, because most of the people that are going to go to them are not going to have the Kundalini. But you see, that's changing. That's changing, and I wouldn't be surprised to start hear them chanting a new chant, singing a new tune that says, it's like, Om Namah Shivaya, Om, watch out for the entities. If you've got the Kundalini, Om Namah, maybe that'll happen. Maybe that'll change. Maybe they'll get that, and I would hope so. I mean, I'll do whatever I can do to educate the populations about the possessive aspects of Kundalini activation and awakening. There are those out there right now, though, who have just visited Amma. I just spoke to a person just a little while ago before the show, and she went to Amma. She already had Kundalini activated. She went to Amma, and she got infested with entities, literally infested. While she was there, they had to drag her to a psych ward. Yay. They had to put her on heavy, heavy medication, which she is still on right now, And I spoke to this person before she went to Amma, and I knew she had Kundalini, but I also knew that she was falling victim to her ego eccentricities. Sorry about that. And I knew that, when you follow the ego, you're always going to look outside for the inner solution. Looking outside for the inner solution. In other words, going outside naked, putting your clothes on out there instead of putting your clothes on in the house and then going outside. Okay. This adulation that people have for these men and women, this really has to turn around. I mean, give your adulation to the Kundalini. Give your adulation to Shakti. And if you are going to go into devotion to a living person, and I've had people go in devotion with the Shakti in me, make sure they're doing it to the Shakti in that living person. Not to the living person. Separation. Okay. And also, really, really, I know that we're so programmed to look outside of ourselves for our solutions. But, imagine that you're in a classroom and you're taking a test and that you can't copy other people. You can't look over on somebody else's paper and copy down their answers, right? Your answers have to come from within. That's the whole idea of learning and progressing through learning, through education. Okay? You don't learn a subject by looking outside of your own equation with that subject. You've got to learn it from the inside first. Then you can go outside and compare. Then you can go outside and compare. Right? But no, you don't do that with an Amma, Nityananda, Moji, or Sai Baba, or Bob Benji, and I'm just making them up now. Whoever it is, you don't do that. You've got to recognize the holy divinity within yourself first. And if that holy divinity guides you to listen to a person or to get a hug, then fine. Then you go and do that, right? Making sure that they're not entities that are guiding you. You see, that's the tricky area, and the question that naturally comes up, well, how can you tell the difference between that voice that's saying, oh, go to Amma, she will be very good for you, from an entity that wants to corrupt you? Well, you have to look at how you're being directed. Are you being directed to meditate, to go within, to really explore the inner workings of your own energy first, your own soul first, your own Kundalini first? Or are you all of a sudden hearing a voice that's saying, go to Amma, she'll be very good for you? Which one do you think is the entity? And I'm going to ask that question in the chat room. Which one do you think is the entity? Come on, you guys, wake up, get off the toilet. Come on, let me hear. Which one's the entity? The one that tells you to go see Amma, or the one that tells you to go within and learn from your own Shakti? I wonder which one is the Shakti. Here. So here we go. Okay, all right. That's a very important subject because these people are literally traps, that are laid out by entities for the unknowing and the uneducated and the unwitting Kundalini activated or awakened people to step into. And then they just, they get harvested. I don't want you to get harvested. And so so the question comes up, well, how can you tell? I mean, somebody starts getting really, really popular. Does that automatically mean that they're chock full of entities? No, it doesn't. But you've got to listen to what they're saying. Are they saying, come, my child, oh, so beautiful, beautiful child, come, give me a hug. Let me hug you. Or, are they saying, look within, my child. Feel your Shakti within. Feel your Shiva within. Feel sacred and masculine within, and give them a hug. See, you've got to look at what they're doing outside of the mundane, need for mommy, in the case of Amma. Or the need for power, over others and an edge over others. Oh, yes, I'm Kundalini awakened, but now I went to Nityananda and I paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and now I have been activated by the Kundalini. I'm very, very powerful. Yes, worship me. Or you go to Muji Sangha and you're going, well, Kundalini is very nice. I know. It sounds. I'm being very, very ornery right now with regards to this, because it's such an inverted vortex. It's a whirlpool sucking people down, and I guess those that get sucked down need to learn that lesson, because there are no accidents, right? There are no accidents with this, and. But you don't have to take that route. You can develop a little self-discipline. You can listen to your own Shakti, your own voice, the voice of the divine within you, without having to reach outside of yourself and go with the crowd. Basically, it's the lemming spiritual complex. Where you're that little mouse-like creature and you're falling over the cliff because the next one in front of you fell over the cliff, so it must be okay. Okay, see if anybody responded in the chat room. Yeah. Bo is saying tough choice. Not really. But Bo says, but not really. Don't care for Muji or Amma. I get an uncomfortable feeling just looking at them. Yeah, and he's the only one who's responded. So, but I could be stepping on people's toes pretty harshly right now. And on the one hand, I want to apologize because it's causing you pain. On the other hand, I won't apologize because it's an important thing not to get totally dominated by entities. Keeps you out of the psych ward. Really, it does. I mean, just go to some of the shows where we had Vincent on, and Vincent was totally dominated by entities and trying to get out from under them. Goes to Brazil, goes to different parts of Brazil, goes to Brazil a number of times, and is currently in a psych ward in Germany, and it can really be a life-changing experience, typically not for the better. I want your life to be changed by the Kundalini for the better, not so that you can feed millions and millions of entities your energy and at the same time, incarcerate yourself in a chemical prison by virtue of a psych ward. Okay. I would have to have a list of names of popular gurus that are traveling around. And if I just see the name, I'll know if they're entity infested or not. So I can't, I don't know who all these people are that are traveling around. Peace Pilgrim, I think, is good. That woman is good. The guy that they canonized, Father Pena or something like that, he was good. Reminds me a lot of St. Francis of Assisi. Looking around here in the world, she's showing me the globe. The people that supposedly saw the Virgin Mary in Medjugorje, they had become possessed and commercialized. The singing cedar woman, I think she's good, although she's closer to the demarcation line there. There are some kahunas in Hawaii that are good. And there are some shamans on the South American continent that are good. Moving through, there's some people in Brazil that are good. So there is goodness. There is goodness occurring. It's just they're not as popular as the ones that tell you to go outside naked, put your clothes on outside, and then you're then you're fully dressed. So look within first, ladies and gentlemen. Always look. The key is in any of these teachings that you may expose yourself to by virtue of the web or YouTube or some great popular personage comes out and says, yes, I am flying now, so I'm God. Be very careful and listen to what they're saying. And if they're listening, and if they're saying, get into this phenomena, get into that phenomena, it will put you ahead of the next person. You'll have everything you need from money, job, security, all of the, life is good, basically painting this picture of greatness coming to you if you listen to their teachings, or if you're, if you're one of the people that lack love in their life and you're just looking for mommy, and they're saying, just come up and I'll give you a hug and everything will be great. Look within yourself repeatedly first, not just one time. Just look inside and go, oh God, man, there's just like nothing there. Geez Louise. It's like, God, Chrism's telling me to look at myself and I just don't feel worthy. Look repeatedly. And have the understanding that you're here, you're inside of this school, you're inside of this education. You are worthy or you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here. So you are worthy. You're listening to this program, you're hearing these words. You are worthy, and you always were worthy. It's just your ego, the pressures of life, and probably some entity direction that's making you feel less than worthy. Less than worthy. Okay, look within and honor the sacred divinity within you first before you go outside and allow yourself to become harpooned by a bunch of entities. Harpooned means it's like a spear that that somebody would throw into you and then collect you, so to speak. So there you have it. That is this part of the opening of this program that I'd like to talk with you about. Now I got to go to page 2. Page 2. Totally different subject. So this has to do more along the lines of tantric energetic harvesting. Okay, so one of the reasons you want to stay celibate, men and women, there's a tremendous amount of energy within the Kundalini. This is well known. People understand this. Just a second here. I'm going to get a sip here. Oh, yes, a little bit of tea. There's a tremendous amount of energy in the Kundalini. And that is a creative, a living, self-possessed, I don't want to use that word, self-aware, divine consciousness that energy is comprised of. In other words, it's these sparkles of energy that you may see, these little these lights, maybe thousands and thousands of lights for some of you, and just one big bright white flash for others of you. This is part of the active intelligent matrix that the Kundalini is. And this energy uses the vehicle of the reproductive fluids in one of its major infusion areas in order to infuse the person. And as I mentioned before, celibacy conserves that energy, and that And that in turn that allows the Kundalini to do the work that it's doing with you. Contrary to the misunderstandings of, say, the Catholic priests or even, the Brahmacharya priests of India and the not so celibate Buddhist monks in Asia, Tibet, because somehow, their children are the ones that are becoming the next leader. I guess that would be celibacy nepotism. Anyway, the idea is not to lose the libido. You want to have the urge to merge. You want to feel like you want to make love with that person. And then you don't do it. You choose not to do it. You choose to conserve that energy. But you still must have that excitement, that procreative urge to merge into the flesh of that person. The men should be having erections. The women should be, having that lubrication occur. And so it's very important for you to maintain that as you maintain your celibacy. This accentuates the infusion to a very, very palpable degree. I mean, to some of you will just, you'll get so horny that you kind of won't know what to do with yourself. You look at anybody of the opposite gender or anybody that you want to merge that way with, and you just like, that becomes a domination of your mind. And part of that is to feel it, but not allow it to dominate how you are with yourself and how you are with other people. So you don't masturbate. Okay? You're not going around saying, well, my Kundalini compelled me. No. For some of you, yeah, she may compel you to do that, but you'll have no control over that. That's just going to happen. Okay? For the most part, you need to conserve these fluidic expressions. You need to do it, and you need to be able to bump yourself up into this next level of higher consciousness that this extreme level of libido will take you. The libido is a ladder, and it's not, it's a ladder that goes up and it goes down. I mean, if you cave into the libido, then you're going to go down, and your process is going to be somewhat undermined. If you go up, well, then what, you're facing another challenge when you go up and you're controlling the expression of sacred fluids, and it adds a whole level of anxiety to your life. It adds a level of anxiety that you normally wouldn't have to deal with, but because you're encouraging and suppressing at the same time, that level of anxiety is amplified. And by suppression, I don't really mean suppression in that you're holding it down. You're redirecting it into the Kundalini matrix itself. So you're consciously redirecting reproductive, fluidic, and orgasmic energy into the Kundalini matrix. And, that really, really, really accentuates your process, which is why, we do the first Tibetan exercise. And because the first Tibetan exercise, it deals with the Kundalini directly, and the second one does too, but also they're dealing with the sexual expression with both of them. And this isn't easy. This is not easy because here in the United States, and I think in other parts of the world as well, you're titillated constantly with some form of sexual pornography in the cinemas, in the movies, the films that we're watching. These people that are outrageously beautiful that you'll never really see in real life, very rarely, and they're just perfect people to titillate your interests sexually. And so, they know that if they titillate you sexually, that they can manipulate you towards certain areas, like staying interested in the movie, perhaps. Perhaps you're more interested in how beautiful that woman is than what's really being said. Well, men and women have these very different sexual interest climatic controls within them, and beefcake, as they call a beautiful man, or a pinup girl, if it's what they call a beautiful girl. These are all designed to titillate you sexually. Well, those of us within the Kundalini, you can have that happen. You just have to realize that you are not going to put your body in a position to actually engage in sex with that person, either in your mind or certainly not with your body. You're giving that energy to the Kundalini, but you're stoking the heat. You're stoking the campfire. You're nourishing the interest. And as you nourish that interest, you give it to grace. There's a certain point where you just give it to grace. And it's just like, it's from a clenched fist to an open hand to grace. Clenched fist to open hand. You give it to grace. You can actually use that movement with your fist, clenching, it's like, I'll just use a man, for example. The man has this tremendous erection, and he's just really, really, really just so hot with libido, so hot, so turned on. And he's just going, no, I must give this to my grace. I must give this to my grace. And the clenched fist and the open hand, I give this to my grace. The clenched fist and the open hand, I give this to my grace. And it doesn't necessarily bring the erection down, although that can happen. But it's really a reformatting of the primal drive. Okay, we are taking the reproductive drive to replicate and to preserve the species, and we're turning that energy towards the Kundalini within us that allows us to become much more than a spirit in a body. Okay, this is what it takes to really nourish the divine within us. Okay, this is what she asked me to talk about earlier. And once again, she's not using English with me. I just get this almost like a telepathic emotion of information that I am to talk about. And I see pictures of it, and I get the feeling of, I'm not hearing it in the Queen's English, ever. All right, so let's see. Going over here, and yes, Andrew says, boy, did I comment it. And then Life Energy says, laughing out loud, I always wondered where to draw the line. Thanks for the guidance. And then Andrew says, it's like we're cattle being led about by the nose ring of sex. Oh, wow, that is a very good analogy, Andrew. That is an excellent analogy. So true, so true, so true. Going back to the previous conversation about these people that we go outside for. One student of Nityananda called me once trying to promote me, told me that he saw through the third eye and I was in great danger or something. Very weird guy. This is what they do. Now that is a very clear entity. God, these thousands of people come to these Nityanandas, these Amas, these whatever, and they're literally possessed by entities. There are far more entities in the multiverse than there are people on this world. You can have thousands of entities for every single person, the 9 or 10 billion people on this planet. You can have thousands and thousands of entities, individual one. And Life Energy is going Jagu Vasudev. So just a second. Jagu Vasudev. Jaggi Vasudev is on the line. He started out pure, but he's slipping. He's slipping now. So you need to look at what he is teaching. What is he teaching? Is he teaching you to look at him? Is he teaching you to look outside of yourself? Or is he teaching you to look within and to follow that which is within? The Isha Foundation, yeah. Now, I don't get a good feeling about the Isha Foundation. And that must be his thing. But I think Isha Foundation started off healthy and is starting to get unhealthy. It's funny, as they expand, they tend to get unhealthy. So I wonder how to protect against that for an organization. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I will promote celibacy. I will promote it. Now, if you're doing so the tantric aspect of this, and so I'm gonna step on toes again, and I do apologize on the one hand, and I don't apologize on the other. Typically, when I talk about Tantra, we're talking wet Tantra. Do I need to explain what wet Tantra means? Wet meaning fluidic. I hope not, because I'm not going to. You either know what wet Tantra is or you don't. Okay, I'll explain a little bit. You have dry Tantra, which means no fluidic exchange. And you have wet Tantra, which means copious fluidic exchange. Within Tantra, some of the people practice the Tantra and they're going, oh, well, it's very traditional. And, we have a lot of ceremonies that we go through. And we have all these little candles in the room. And there's a certain prayer for each candle. And we go to each candle and we do this prayer. And it's like, and then we look at the sacred Shiva Lingam and the sacred Yoni and we talk to the Yoni and we're very, worshiping of each other's reproductive organs and what they represent, the sacred Shakti, the sacred Shiva. This is all well and good to a degree. I'm sorry. It just brought to mind this person that's calling themselves a Yoni whisperer. A Shiva Lingam whisperer. This person who I led on the group the other day. She described herself that way. It's like like a horse whisperer. Anyway, so those are areas of tantric exploration that I think are fine. But it is all a prelude to wet Tantra. And you can just jump right into wet Tantra. You don't have to do all of this, looking at the Yoni, looking at the Shiva Lingam and kind of like, getting into the worship of that. I see a lot of, depending on where the people are spiritually, of course, I see a lot of opportunity for distraction there. But if it leads into the wet Tantra, then I suppose that's okay. Once again, with the wet Tantra, and you're going in, the flesh is being united, and, you're saying mantras, you're saying prayers, and these are things that have great levels of intention upon them. Well, then you're actually creating a form of consciousness that is of a divine nature, and it's a forever nature. It is not something that just goes away. So as your Shiva Lingam and your Yoni, come together, the two partners come together. Once again, you do not get to have the fluidic release, typically. Sometimes that's going to happen anyway because the people don't have the control that they want to have. But typically, you don't want to have the fluidic release, and you pull out. You don't, and even pulling out. As the Shiva Lingam is withdrawn from the Yoni, great care must be taken not to lose the fluidic elements. You don't want to pull out because, oh gosh, here I go. You want to pull out long before that ever occurs. Matter of fact, you turn it into a real mantra session. And if you turn it into a real mantra session, you can go for hours and hours and hours without fear of fluidic release. Sometimes she will force you to have that fluidic release. Sometimes. I mean, it's certainly, probably, there's a certain percentage. And there's reasoning for that too. And one of the reasons is the infusion of data, of information, the infusion of karma, the infusion of the intention behind the mantra. Sometimes that infusion must be had through the sacred fluidic expression, which is why, of course, it's a what do they call it? A renewable resource. It's a renewable resource, but typically, unless you're inside of that type of a practice with a person, it's very, very intense, and it's very, very powerful, and it's very, very, how do I say it? It's part of what the equation is for the two people. You can serve. And even within the tantric. So your yoni, your Shiva lingam, and your partner, you come together with them. You do not lose. How do I say it? Because just a second. There are certain elements of the fluidic experience that will feed each other. The excretions of the yoni will feed the Shiva lingam, and the pre-ejaculate secretions of the Shiva lingam will feed the yoni. Those are fine. Those actually have a lot of power to them. Okay. And as you continuously say the mantra and you continuously mix those elements, just those elements, those will feed the Kundalini very, very well. Use the expressed reproductive fluid, the sperm, the semen. You don't use that, okay? And there are deep levels of yoni excretions that you don't use, okay? You can never leave that being sexually satisfied. Put it that way, okay? You want to conserve the orgasm. That's really what the conserving is. It's conserving the orgasm. When you conserve the orgasm, you start to be orgasmic all the time. 24/7. And yes, at first it'll put a lot of stress on your mind. It'll put a lot of stress on your body. You might have, you might be having wet dreams. It'll put some stress on you, but you must do that. This is really the entrance into the physiologics of the divine flesh. Physiologically, you have to change. There's a transformation taking place. And part of those transformations are going to be the ability to hold, how do I say it? The ability to live in a constant orgasm. And to be calm and to be peaceful and to, it's not, you know how it is when you have that orgasm and you go beyond the beyond. Some of us explode into light, and there's light that explodes into us, and, all of that. And you've got to be able to move into that light all the time without fluidic expression. So when you're constantly on the lip, shall we say, on the edge of the canyon. And if you jump off the canyon, well, then you're having the orgasm, right? I'm suggesting that you become pre-orgasmic all the time. All the time. Okay. That's what is really going on here. And this is what is going on with the Kundalini Tantra that I teach. I don't know anybody else that is teaching this. I wish there were, but nobody else seems to be really interested in the truth of the matter. They're interested in the sexual aspect of it. They either go one way or they go the other way. Tantra is known as the left path, the path of the sacred feminine, and so they do all of this ceremonial stuff, and oh, look at the buttons he's wearing, and this is, like I said before, this is all fine, this is all good as long as it leads up to what? Tantra, the wet Tantra. And then as long as you're practicing the wet Tantra within the guidelines that I've just expressed, that I've just said. I get into so much trouble when I talk about this. I swear to God, it's just the worst. But I don't care. Have another sip of my tea here. All right, let's see. Let's see. Life Energy says, okay, thank you, Master. I will watch out for what to follow. Thank you. All right, very good. That they must, and I think Life Energy is referring to these people. Andrew says, Yoni Whisper, echoes. And Andrew also says, what about clamping it off with the PC muscle? I don't want you to get it to the point where you're clamping it off at the. I don't want. See, here's the thing. I mean, that's just an invitation to a form of. It's very painful. I mean, some people call it blue balls for the guys, and what happens is there's a canal that goes from the testicle and into the Shiva Lingam, and it's called the vas deferens, and that vas deferens can be filled up with sperm, and then it's left there. It's not allowed to go. It knows it wants to express itself, but it can't express itself, so it basically stretches the wall of the vas deferens, and that is very, very painful. And yes, if you masturbate and you ejaculate the fluid, and then that's immediately resolved. I don't want you to get to the point where you're needing that kind of resolution. Okay? I don't want you to get to that point. I want you to feel the urge to merge all the time, which is to say, I want you to be in that pre-orgasmic status all the time, as much as you can. And I also want you to understand it's going to change your behaviors. It's going to change how you make your choices. It will. I promise you. It will make changes in these areas, and it's very important for you to understand that, for your partner to understand that. That now you're kind of like a walking pre-orgasmic a volcano of energy. Okay. So if you're clamping it off with the PC muscle, clamp it off soon, or actually start it off by clamping off with the PC muscle. And Andrew continues, my wife and I have merged from synchronized breathing, eye contact, no intercourse. Sometimes intercourse gets in the way. Exactly. There you go. There you go. There you go. And that is a good way. That is a good precursor to the wet tantra. But that is something that actually can, as you're moving through life, through your day, and you're not doing the wet tantra right there, but you're moving through life, you're working, doing all these things, and you can just look at her or look at him, make that contact, boom, you've just thrown some more fuel on the flame. You just nourished that libidinous merge point towards continuing pre-orgasmic orgasm. You see, when you have the orgasm and you have the ejaculation or the fluidic response, both men and women, that energy is given away. That energy just goes out into the ethers, okay? When you hold it within yourself, it stays within you. It feeds the 23 trillion cells of your body. It accentuates the Kundalini that's already there. The Kundalini uses that. So it's important for you to do this work this way. If you are into the whole Tantra thing. Now, as I said, I get in a lot of trouble with the Tantra people because I'm totally teaching areas that are, first of all, extremely sacred. They don't like having their sacred stuff divulged. And yet this all comes straight from my Kundalini. So you know what? If the Kundalini says it's to be spoken about, it's to be talked about, it's to be communicated, then so be it. I will do it. And if this creates a lot of Kundalini awakened and activated people on this planet, good. Good for this planet. All right. I have the honor to introduce a person who is taking a great long break from Facebook, and I totally understand why. She is the source of this program, this radio show. She's my great friend, and I would like to introduce Santara Kundalini. Hello, Santara. I just surprised her, I'm sure. She's like going, what?
Hi,
What?
Am I coming
Hi,
through
Vera.
there, please?
How are you?
Hi, everybody. I'm good, thank you very much. Yes, I'm taking a break from Facebook, and it's really interesting, I can tell you.
Yeah? Well, how does it affect you?
Well, there's various reasons why I'm taking it, but I've been given to take a break from Facebook, and I was really enjoying it. And then about 2 days ago, I got the addictive element came to me where I started wondering what was going on. And I couldn't believe it, I wanted to go back on and see how everything was going, and it was just really interesting how, I think in a way how dependent we can become on that form of communication,
Well,
So
it's interesting. I was just reading an article about that. Is how, and its algorithms can actually control our behaviors.
Well, of course it can, and we often.
Yeah.
I found a few times as well, Chrism, that what I did revolved around clicking in and out of Facebook. I mean, it was kind of scared me because I hadn't realized it,
Yeah. I totally understand, and for me it's a little different because even since the Yahoo group, which you were familiar with,
Yeah.
I've always used it as a teaching platform. I've never used it as a social platform for myself, so to speak. It's always, the Skyping, it's always to teach the Kundalini. The Yahoo groups always to teach the Kundalini. The Facebook groups always to teach the Kundalini. If you look at my Facebook page, it's just full of teachings.
Yeah,
true. I think that when you go about it that way, like certainly you could do that, it modifies how Facebook is allowed to affect you.
Yeah,
because you're not up there
it does.
sharing. I popped a zit on the left side of my nose today. Oh my God, it was. You're not talking about those personal areas.
Oh no, and I don't even do that. I share very
What?
little in that way. But even so, there's a part of us a part of me that kind of missed that, Anyway, so it's very interesting, Chris. Very interesting.
I just want to say that it's your voice. Your voice is very powerful, and people miss it, and so you can know that. But it's very nice that you're continuing with the blog talk. So thank you for that as well.
And I am actually continuing with Messenger, because I have an Amelia Facebook Messenger, which I don't really use at all. Actually, Messenger is on my phone all the time, and so people have been writing to me, and I do talk to people on Messenger. And so that's good. And actually, I had two people. It's interesting. I had two people contact me about Tantra Chrism.
Oh, really?
During the week. So it was, yeah. So it was really good to hear what you were saying there, and I'd have my own experience.
How do you feel about what I'm
saying?
there? How does that feel to your Kunalini?
Well, one of the things that happened to me, I was never, like, to use the word Tantra. First of all, I think it's totally misused in the world anyway. I mean, I know one person that got onto me. It really wasn't about Tantra at all. It was about, to be honest with you, it was about, people using that as a way of being promiscuous, to be honest.
Right.
And I think they just began to discover that. So that was quite easy. That person was just a little bit traumatized by how they got sucked into that world, if you know what I mean. But for me, when I had my awakening event, as I call it, back in 2007 in Corfu, when I came home from there, Kundalini gave me a tantric practice from herself, that I didn't have any previous experience of, with my husband.
No.
So that was really interesting. I used to say, because I was way on my own prison, and I might have been.
Hello.
Mentioned this before. I was away with my sister when I had my awakening, and I often thought, if my husband had been away and came home with this really amazingly beautiful, intense, but very different way of being with him, I'd have been very concerned. But it was very, it was amazing, and it didn't stay like that, Chrism, I have to admit. My tantric practice has changed over the years too. I totally understand that libido that is so what's the word, strong, and yet orgasm isn't really allowed either, that it's to be directed inward and given to the Kundalini. And that was a great blessing as well for me and my husband.
Right, and it's not like Montauk Chia says either. You're not doing the cool draw, or you're not, that's just like fluidic dynamics. What he's doing, he's trying to pull it into the spine, and basically, he's coming from a Taoist standpoint. It's like control. Now the control and the discipline is important, and I'm not gonna deny that, but to put your ego into the control seat, that is the mistake. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a fine line, really. I mean, when you're talking in these higher states, and this would be a high spin state, when you're talking in these higher states, the need for pleasure is so strong. The need for the pleasure that we associate with the orgasm is so strong that, it can be very, very difficult to untangle the egocentrism from the need for that orgasm to occur. But when you pull back and you're always in that state of pre-orgasmic consciousness, there is where the real power is. And it's that power that causes you to have anxiety, that causes you to have, really strong levels of energy to work, energy to create, because it's very creative energy that you're using right now, or that you're learning how to discipline away from the ego control. And so when you can untangle the egocentrism then you know that the disciplines that you're putting yourself through are without egocentrism, and therefore, you know, there's a level of purity to that that allows it to continue in a stronger format towards Kundalini awakening and activation. Boy, that was a mouthful.
But you know what she did with me, and she's done this quite a bit, and I think she does it with other people too. She must do. When that, I'm going to call it that tantric, those tantric experiences came, and you know, that need for, we say, orgasm, that wasn't there. It wasn't. I just knew, because she controlled how that was to go. So it wasn't an egoic, let's say, manipulation at all. It was she controlled it. And that went on for a couple of weeks with me. But then it stopped. But because she had demonstrated it to me, through me, well then when I began to feel that, when the ego, let's say, was returned into the desire for the orgasm, because she had shown me that where I didn't have control, where she really worked it with me and did it for me, well then I was able to understand on a more on a different level what I had to do, and she left me, you know, come into that then myself, with that struggle.
Yeah, you had the memory. You had the memory engram. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
that's the thing, is she'll teach us that way. She does teach us that way. You know, she'll give you the experience, and she'll form the memory engram or the reference point, and then she'll say, "Okay, do it."
Yeah, that's right. And you're there, and you're kind of going, "Well, hello, what? Can we go back to the way it was?" Because
yeah. Where's the workbook?
No. He's going, "No, you know, I, you know." So,
yeah. That's totally true.
Yeah. So, and then you've got to do it. You know, it's like when she takes away the desire. We even say for smoking or food or any of these things, and it's easy. For me, anyway, she gives it back to me again then, and you know, I have to do it then, and consciously surrender and do as I know it's to be done. You know, so yeah, it's. So I agree with what you've said there in all that you said. It was good to be reminded of it, Chrism. Hello?
All gratitude to Kundalini. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
God, you know, it was just so weird. Anyway, okay. So I am open to answering some of these questions over here. Looks like this could be Her Holiness, Indra. Hello, Indra. You're on the program with Chrism. Hi.
Hi, Chrism.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How may I help you today?
Good. Okay, so can I give you a quick Amma story really quick?
Okay.
A friend took me to one of her, I don't know, concerts, whatever you would call it. But I've never heard of her before, so I was activated and didn't really knew what was happening to me. So I went in there, and there was a lineup for miles. So someone came up to me and go, "Do you have a health issue?" I said, "Well, I fell and I hurt my spine really bad." So they told me I'm a nudist, and send them to ask me this question. I went upstairs. They took me. I bypassed the line. They took my friend and I. We got seated, and there was a person who came around asking if you wanted a mantra from her, you have to agree to give her your soul.
Holy moly!
I grabbed my friend's hand, and I said, "Listen, this is the red flag. Let's get out. That is not kosher for a human being to ask for your soul. This is a red flag, and I'm telling the rest of the people, let's get out. If you guys are not leaving, I'm leaving. That's not kosher. And my friend got up and go. Yeah, but that was the thing.
It would not have been Amma, the human being. It would have been Amma, the human being possessed by entities that are doing that. And
really,
and, when they say, well, Amma knows this, and it's really what they're saying is, Amma's possessing entities know this about you, and they could see your activated state. They could see, what your energetic potentials were. And so they certainly would be interested in harvesting Indra, for sure.
Wow. Because thank God I went upstairs, did not know of my activation. I had the energy crawling inside of me, so I thought I was possessed by a snake. That's what the church told me. So I went up there not knowing what this person was about. As soon as we got seated, a person came around and go, if you want a mantra from her, you have to agree to give up your soul. I looked at my friend, I grabbed her hand, and I said, this is a red flag. Let's go. Get out. She go, are you sure? I go, I am 100% sure. Let's go. And we left.
God, that she would even have to ask you if you're sure.
Yeah, she did.
And,
so that was my experience.
These people do this. These people that are homeless or they're having a difficult time in life, they'll be more than happy to give their soul.
Wow.
Now, and it's very different because, Kundalini will also ask you for your soul.
So, Chrism, what would have happened if I did not, catch on and said, okay, yes?
They would have been harvesting. You'd be infested right now. Your life would have been completely changed. Yeah. I've met the people that have done that.
Okay.
And you'd be spreading. You'd be spreading entities too. Everybody you touch, anybody that could possibly be harvested would be harvested. Your child,
so to the
your
people,
husband,
Right. Go ahead.
Your child, your husband, your workmates, your family, your mom, your dad, aunt, uncle, cousins. Everybody that had any propensity towards energetic consciousness, awareness, or just, like you were at the time, ignorant, innocently ignorant, and yet extremely powerful in that phase. That's why they cut you in front of the line.
They cut me. Listen, the line, there were like thousands of people lined up, and she came right to me and said, do you have a health issue? I said, well, it's not really permanent. I fell off a flight of stairs, and I'm really, I'm hurting. My spine is hurting.
You got to remember, it's not her that came to you. It's them that came to you.
Wow.
And they could see your lit candle from a distance.
Wow.
This happens with a lot of channelers, too. It's the same thing with the Abraham Hicks people, the channelers that are doing, Abraham Hicks is one of them. I dealt with people that are, trying to come from that. And the only channeler that I know of that isn't damaging is dead. His name is Edgar Casey. And he didn't have that kind of effect on people. He wasn't trying to steal their soul through this or that. And when the Kundalini, comes and the Kundalini says, well, you must be willing to give everything that you are, give your soul, give your life, give control of your life, give everything that you have to me. And to some extremes, they'll say, give it to the teacher just to see if you will.
Yeah.
And it's all a test. And that is doable because really, if your Kundalini has, or if the teacher has your Kundalini, then the Kundalini has your teacher. So you're not giving it to anybody but the Kundalini.
That's true.
That's the test. She's tricky.
Yep.
She's tricky that way, let me tell you.
Yes.
But yeah, and this goes on and on and on. Sai Baba.
So we got to be really careful.
Yeah, but it's not careful. It's like, oh my God, they're all out to get you. You just got to look at how you demonstrate egotism. How you search for pleasure at the expense of what? Friendships, at the expense of your divine equation. How do you search for pleasure at the expense of your need
the
not to be
Kunalini.
greedy? Or,
Yeah.
Kundalini's never on the table.
No, I mean
never,
like you. What you're saying is you're risking your Kunalini for pleasure.
Well,
what
see,
kind of pleasure?
You never are. You never risk Kundalini. I mean, it's not yours to risk. It's itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what you can do is
Gotcha.
you can risk your awareness.
Wow.
And the teachings that
Right.
it's giving you. Well, that's a great story about Amma, and it totally.
Yeah, she did not add up, and I go.
No.
Anybody who is human asking for your soul, it's time to get out.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's not like you're really ever allowed to give that. That is not your mundane choice to make. So
Right.
that's false.
Right.
So there's falseness all through that. You don't get to say, "Oh, I give you my soul," because your soul does not belong to your mundane consciousness.
Right.
The soul is controlling the mundane consciousness. What they were doing is they were trying to exert a very strong level of perpetual control over your life and as you're living it. And that is what the soul represents to most people.
Right.
God, the hubris of people, the hubris of innocence. It's just like, well, I'm going to give my soul, my God-given soul to this person because, of course, it's mine to give because it's my soul, and therefore, it's just such ignorance. Well, thank you, Indra. Thank you, my dear.
Yes.
I'm going to move on to the next person. Thank you. That's
Okay. Thank you, Chrism.
okay. And moving onward here, and hello, you're on the program. Your prefix is 934. Your area code is 720.
Hello, Master.
And you're breathing.
This is Mohan here.
You're breathing heavy. Hi, who's this?
Mohan.
Oh my God, I can't hear them all. What's going on? Mr. Mohan, would you please make an announcement for me, please, right now, if you would?
Sure. The Kundalini Colorado seminar is coming up on April 28th and 29th. There's hardly 3 weeks left for the program to begin. So, Denver is awakening. Where are you? Please try to make
Denver is awakening. Ladies and gentlemen, 28th and 29th of April. Contact Mohan Nunez. Contact Rosemary Goliath. Contact these people. Let's meet. Let's really, let's put out the fire with gasoline. Yeah. So thank you. Now, Mohan, did you have another question or anything you wanted to add?
Yes, I do. I have a question. So, do you think that Nityananda doesn't have Kundalini at all?
The who?
Nityananda?
Oh, no. I mean, he doesn't have Kundalini in the activated or awakened state. I'm sure he has it dormant in the base of his spine.
I saw lots of videos about him talking about Kundalini, how to awaken it. So when you said
he doesn't
have, okay.
He doesn't have it, and I was informed. My Kundalini informed me of Nityananda back in 2009, before he was really, really popular like he is right now. Before he had sex with those Bollywood stars and they burned a lot of his ashrams, before he was doing all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I could tell that the guy, at that time, he was only really teaching just meditation. It's only as, his advisors, his business advisors, looked around the internet and said, oh, Kundalini's becoming really big. Well, you we have to give you the ability to awaken people's Kundalini. Oh, think of the money we can make. Okay, Nityananda, this is what we want you to say. And this is what's been going on. And I've had people that have been in contact with me that have gone over there, and they're totally mind controlled. Very, very, they become extremely Hindu. They take on a Hindu name. And I have nothing against Hinduism, but they make such radical changes in their life just to support a fantasy of having Kundalini awakening. And it's like the person said in the chat room. They let me back up here. One student called me once trying to promote me. You see, this is an indication of entity, right? These are entities doing this. He told me that he saw me through his third eye, and I was in great danger or something. And then, very weird guy. And this is, Kundalini awakening. Oh, this is what is going on with Nityananda, with Amma, with some of these other great Muji. Muji. I find it hard to well, never mind. I'll keep it to myself. Muji is so laughable in many ways, his ignorance of Kundalini. But yeah, these people, they have it because they have a human body, but they don't have it in the expressive state.
Okay.
Yeah, Nityananda certainly does not have it.
Okay, and how do we know if somebody has entities attached with them, and those entities are trying to lure you into something? How do we know that?
Yeah. They'll use fear all of a sudden. Well, I feel like a long time ago, I was just a normal person. I had the Kundalini in the activated awakened state, but I was without a teacher. I didn't know what not to do, what to do. And so I'd go to a party, and like in Sacramento, I went to a party at Sacramento, California, and I sat down. I was never good at parties. So I didn't know how to really socialize that well. And this guy stood behind me, and I immediately knew he was totally possessed by entities. And I felt the vibration. But see, that's me. And I was very sensitive that way. For typical people, if your friend is like doing what this person said, you're in great danger, or they're trying to scare you, or they're trying to manipulate your ego in some way, well, then that there is entity control with that. You're in great danger because he saw me through his third eye. And it's just like, first of all, he's bragging about what he thinks he has, which is a third eye, which he doesn't have. He's possessed by entities. Mm-hmm. And second of all, he's promoting fear in a way that he cannot really prove. He cannot really, using fear as a hook to try to get under the skin of the individual. And this happens quite a bit. This happens online all the time. Now, I told this woman that I was talking with earlier, I said, you really we need to work together more to help you learn how to navigate this path. And she, life would get in the way, and she couldn't do it because of her work, and we couldn't do it because of this, we couldn't do it because of that. And then all of a sudden, she just goes, well, I guess I'm going to go to a Amma. And she kind of blew it in a way, because now she really has it bad. That was literally like putting out the entity fire by adding gasoline to it. Right. And so you have to really look at what level of noble behaviorism, Mohan, are these people expressing? Are they forgiving? Are they gracious? Are they promoting a fear? Are they promoting responsibility for your actions, for your thoughts? How are they acting to you? And so you don't want to give energy to them in any way, shape, or form. Oh boy, and I'm looking at you right now, Mohan. You're doing really well. There's a lot of grace with you. She's showing me. You don't want to give them access to you until you know, either through your Kunalini or through their behaviors, where they're coming from.
Right.
A lot of people don't know.
Most of them promote shortcuts. That's what drives me crazy. Like what? Like they say that come to this program and you are Kundalini awakened person, or your third eye is awakened, or whatever. But suddenly what I feel is like if somebody needs to be an athlete, he has to work for it. There is no shortcuts. You cannot turn into an athlete overnight.
Oh yeah.
So
well, there are short paths. There are definitely short paths, but they're not very good paths. They're usually really, like taking ayahuasca with mixing all these drugs together. It can make like doing mushrooms and then going and asking to meet God. Oh boy.
Right.
And that will send you, and I know I've worked with people who have done this, and that will send you into crazy land for a long time. People cannot handle, in the limited form, the presence of God unfiltered.
Right.
If God has to, the light and the consciousness of God is so powerful that if you were to see it unfiltered, you're literally going insane.
Right. Yeah, those shortcuts look very tempting for people. Like even for me, sometimes when I see that somebody is doing miracles, like it would look tempting, but suddenly I feel that, well, you must be ready for something. If you want to gain something, you need to have the ability to retain that in you. If you're not ready and you're given so much, you don't know what to do with it. You can't handle it.
Well, they go right into the ego with it, and that's why so many people won't get it. But the entities will tell them they have it because they know that person's going to go at it from the ego perspective, and that's what the entities want. They want that. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, there is so thin line between entity and like knowing your ego is speaking or your entity is speaking. Like people don't get it. Like people, they think that I'm having this, but they don't know whether the entity.
Absolutely correct. You're right on target with that, my friend. Well, hey, please make the announcement one more time so we can awaken Denver.
Yep. The Colorado Kundalini seminar is going to happen on April 28th and 29th, and there is hardly 4 weeks left for it. Please try to make it and sign for it as soon as possible.
And what number can they call, Mohan?
Yeah, they can call my number 720-934-1751. I repeat, 720-934-1751. All these details are on the Kundalini events page. The Kundalini events and seminars with Chrism. The event is there on the page. They can get more information from there.
That's on the Facebook page. All right.
And Master, one more question.
Yes, sir.
One more question. Sorry. So can somebody take your soul?
Can somebody what?
Your soul?
Oh, what they can do is they can mess with your consciousness. A soul is not allowed to be given, so that's a lie. Okay.
Right.
As far as taking the soul, they can take your awareness. They can take your consciousness, but There is no taking of the soul.
And do what with that? Like if they take your awareness
Control
or consciousness.
Control you, or use you in some way. That can occur. That can occur. Brainwashing is another way to look at it. They call it brainwashing, and you become literally an extension of whatever consciousness has taken you over.
Okay.
For this lifetime, maybe other lifetimes as well, but the soul is not yours to give. The soul belongs to divinity.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Master.
All right, my friend. Thank you for calling in.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. Here we are. And coming on to our next caller. Hello, area code 848, prefix 459. How are you? Your phone number is 848-459. And you have a question mark up there, whoever you are.
Hi, Chrism. Hi, Chrism.
Hi.
How are you?
Who is it?
Oh, you should know me by now. It's
Tyra?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Tyra.
Oh, I know it's time for you to wrap up, but it's always a pleasure. Just a quick question, and you can tell me what I have seen. Many different types of kriyas and this and that, and happening to me, and on whatever all the yoga posture. The one that I had this one yesterday. I never saw that before anywhere. It's like your tongue is completely coming out of your mouth. Like I don't know if you've seen the picture of Kali.
That's a
right?
That's a Kali lingual kriya. It's actually a mudra. It's a Kali lingual mudra, a tongue mudra.
And then it starts circling around the mouth,
Well, actually, hang on a second. It's really precursive into the shamanic. They just adopted that for Kali in the Hindu religion. It's reminiscent of the shamanic serpent, and so that's just a real. It's a lingual mudra or tongue position that is accentuating the fact that your Kundalini is active and in the process. So you go ahead, you stick that tongue out as far as it'll go, and you hold it there for as long as it wants you to.
No, the other thing happens, it just doesn't stay out. It's like goes around my mouth, like it's completely in circles on my upper lip and lower lip. And then it will go clockwise and anti-clockwise.
There are chakras all on the inside of your mouth. It should also trace the teeth, upper and lower, and then there's a real strong chakra right behind the upper front teeth. But there are 4 other chakras that go back as the roof of your mouth. You go back, and then finally into the kachari, where the tongue tip is going up into the nasal passages.
Yes, it tries to do that, right? It goes around the mouth,
yeah, that's
upper,
okay.
lower lip.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. And then the other thing is like I keep rubbing my face like there's so much tingling, and it's like I'm grabbing all the tingle and like trying to throw it out.
This is what I'm going to suggest you do. This is going to sound really crazy. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
I want you to start slapping your face and the top of your head, but not really hard. Just like medium strength slaps. And make it like you're patting your face hard. It's like a hard pat. So it should sting just a very little bit, not a lot. And you just pat your face, you pat the back of your neck, you pat the top of your head, you pat around the sides of your head, and you just pat everything from the neck on up, and you just give it these medium force slaps or patting.
That already happened. That already happened.
Good.
I appreciate you
telling me. Let it go.
Yeah, it happens. Like I have a tap on top of my head everywhere, like little gentle taps, back of the neck, and then this face is like so extremely tingly. And
yeah, that's great. That's progress.
Oh, great. So it's all good.
It's all good, my dear. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And I'll put you into the blue here. And I would like to thank Indra, Mohan, and Tyra for calling in today. And here I'm going to go on over and yeah, okay, no more question marks there. And then I'm going to come on over here. Let's see. Andrew says, if your grandma looks like Amma and your grandpa smells like Nat Champa and on your forehead is placed a bindi, you might be from India. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. This is interesting. Atlanta Seeker says, I avoid Facebook mainly because I'm paranoid about what they are doing with all the data they are gathering there, part of which is learning to make it more addictive, as you described. Also, I have a smartphone, but I think we should be mindful of the fact that this acronym may be inaccurate. I think she's saying inaccurate. Smartphone. Surveillance masquerading as requisite technology. Smart. And Atlanta Seeker says, I found some of Nityananda's lectures edifying. I like the way he disses absurdities in Western peoples. Example, God resting on the seventh day. In Hinduism, God never takes rests or takes a vacation, LOL. Well, how does he know that? Oh, I guess it's in Hinduism. So he's just dissing one religion over his own. But yeah, the guy, yeah. Well, I said enough about that. Do you have anything to add to this, Santara?
No, Chris. Oops, somebody's. No, Chrism, I don't really, but I do have one or two questions, if I may get to them.
Please.
Well, I've got quite a few, actually, but if I could just get to one or two of them. Okay, here we go. The first one is, I think, about last week. It came from last week's show. It says, why isn't it simply, we're talking about Osho, I think, and Yogananda. And it says, why isn't it simply that Osho, who was addicted to laughing gas, simply didn't do the inner work necessary to correct behaviors of corruption? Why is it that Chrism said the Kundalini allowed it?
Just a second.
Assuming you said that.
Santara, just a second. I got to go in the blue for a second.
Okay. Okay, so while Chrism is in the blue, I think Chrism is in the blue. I'm just going to tell you about the seminar that's going on there in Germany, and that's happening at the end of May. So if you go to the Facebook page, and it's called Kundalini Seminars and Events. Chrism? Chrism is still in the blue for some reason. I don't know what happened there. I'm going to go again.
I just couldn't hold it. I had to go to the bathroom. I apologize.
You should have said. My page went blank, and I thought I was actually cut off. So I stopped in the middle of my speech, thinking that I had lost my line. Okay, so guys, go to Chrism's Facebook page about the seminar, and that is called Kundalini Seminars and Events with Chrism, and you get the information there about the seminar in Germany. Sorry, guys. Okay.
My fault.
So
my
will
fault,
I read
totally.
the question again to you?
Yeah, go ahead.
I really should be teasing you about having to run to the bathroom, seeing as you give me terrible grief about such things. Okay.
You should. You should. I totally earned it that time.
Okay. So here goes. Why isn't it simply that Osho, who was addicted to laughing gas, simply didn't do the inner work that needed to correct behaviors of corruption? Why is it that Chrism said it's the Kundalini that allows it?
Well, it's the Kundalini that does allow it. Kundalini allowed Osho to become corrupted by his ego, by his search for pleasure. And you can hear it in his words. He says, I am the rich man's guru. You know, it's just like you could hear the egotism that he was allowed by his Kundalini to have. It's not saying he's not, I'm not, basically I'm saying the same thing this person is saying. The guy wasn't doing the inner work. He was not doing the work that he was here to do with the level of energy that he was, you know, he obviously had, and the Kundalini allowed it. The Kundalini allows you to make these huge mistakes. If you have the Kundalini awakened and you're, you know, a bright, beautiful soul, and you're helping a lot of people, and your ego says, hey man, I am so Kundalini awakened, I am going to walk right off of this cliff and I'm going to fly. Well, the Kundalini's going to let you do that. Off the cliff you go. Probably not going to fly. You know, at least you'll fly, but you'll be flying in a downward direction. Okay. It allows you to make mistakes. I wrote about this on Facebook a while back, that just because you're awakened, just because you're activated, does not mean that you are infallible. And as I said in the writing, I make mistakes all the time. Chrism, you cannot. I had probably made more mistakes than almost any other Kundalini person I know of, because I didn't have a teacher. And so during my early Kundalini experiences after 1990, you know, I was making 1,000 mistakes a day, it would seem. My thinking was wrong. My discipline was wrong. My understandings were okay, but I was denying them. I was resisting them. I didn't like it. I hated it. I wanted to stop it. I was doing, you know, anything that I could do to push myself off the track. It's just that she wouldn't allow it. She'd allow me to make the action, but she didn't allow it to take hold. She allowed it to take hold for Osho to some degree. I mean, you know, he was doing, the laughing gas that they used to give you at dentists. So I forget what it's called, nitrous oxide, I believe. And, you know, she was allowing him to collect, you know, 90 or so Rolls Royces. She was allowing him to bring in a bunch of people into a little town in Oregon and to take over the town. And she was allowing him to be associated with a kind of a psychopathic woman that was handling all his affairs. And the entities were being allowed to control these people as well. It doesn't mean that the advice from Osho that he was giving and he gave earlier on was incorrect. I mean, you know, Osho had the real deal. He had a very good grasp of what Kundalini was saying through him, but he allowed the adulation to corrupt him, and through that corruption came the entities, and through the entities came this lust for power, came this lust for sex, you know, came this lust for control over others, that type of thing. And God allows that. You get to have that. If you want to make that mistake, well, there you go. It's yours to have. Enjoy the fall. Enjoy the fall.
So he didn't he stopped doing the inner work then, was it, Chrism? And the stuff that he was teaching, even in later years, that was good. Was that based on memory of what he knew?
No, that was based. I think that was based on a direct infusion of information from Kundalini, like what I have. you get a direct level of communication.
Okay. So that was happening as well as the corruption with him then.
Right. Well, yeah. No, not necessarily at the same time, but yeah. Actually, now that I'm seeing it, yeah, Kundalini will try to come through, even as you're degrading yourself by not walking the talk that she is having you give.
Yeah. Okay.
And now, and we look at Yogananda. Yogananda, obviously, Yogananda, felt the need to merge with women, even though he's wearing the saffron robes, and he's the great, amazing person that he is. See, I don't necessarily have a problem with Yogananda or Osho or anybody having sex, or and we don't know because we weren't there watching Shiva Lingam go into the yoni. We don't know if there was just a level of tantra being practiced or a level, we don't know, and therefore I don't find a level of corruption inside of that story. Yeah.
Well, the nitric oxide and the limousines and other stuff would be more. That is probably more.
That would be
obvious.
That would be a little more demonstrative. Yes, that would.
Yeah. I mean, I get the Yogananda bit, after I want to get to the point. I want to get to the point where I can collect Learjets. I want Learjet collections. Oh God. Okay. Well, are you going to say over, and I go on to the next question?
Over.
So the next question, there's sort of three parts to it, but it's all the one question, and it's can a Kundalini person marry and have children? If yes, is it better to find and marry somebody who also has Kundalini or knows about it, and will it be supported?
Well, yeah, if they know about it, then they know what they're getting into, and that will be supported, absolutely, and they can have the kids. Look at Mohan. Mohan is married. He has children. And he is golden. He has a beautiful radiance going on within him. And his wife, they've got another baby on the way. And I know of another Kundalini awakened man who just had a child just recently. And yeah, you can have a marriage, you can have children, you can have family, and you can have Kundalini all at the same time. Over.
Yes. Thank you, Chrism. And then the next question, the person asks kind of the same question in a way. Again, there's three parts. Is Kundalini functioning in everybody? If not, then is divine power absent? And do you think it is dormant in those who are not activated, awakening till the third chakra in everyone? That's how it's written.
That's weird.
Sorry.
Well, I'm going to forget about the third chakra, but yeah, it is active in its evolutionary context in everyone. Everybody, to a degree, has the ability to procreate. Procreation is based upon divine influence. Divine influence within the human system is based upon Kundalini. Kundalini is in the sperm. Kundalini is and in the ovum. Kundalini is that spark of life that is created when sperm enters ovum. Conception is Kundalini. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. If a person leads a life of adultery due to wife's continuous illness, after Kundalini awakening, what are the consequences he has to face?
Well, these are difficult circumstances, and if the person is taking good care of the wife, if she is ill, you're not going to want to have sex with somebody who's ill, and the person who's ill is probably not going to want you to have sex with him either. And if within that context you are guided by your grace to go out and fulfill sexual desires with other women or men, I guess other women, then, is there a sin involved? I don't think so. If the person's taking good care of the wife and doing everything that he can do to make sure she is comfortable, she is loved, she knows it, then I don't see a crime here. Now with the Kundalini up, that's a different story. Now you can no longer live that libidinous life, except perhaps through the way that we were talking about earlier in our conversations with Tantra. Now, if the man is using that as an excuse to be libidinous, then he's developing karma. Now, every time you make love with a person, anybody, you're developing karma. Okay, so there's karma that's going to be experienced by this individual, which almost guarantees another life of physical embodiment. Over.
Okay, Chrism, thank you. Have we time for one more?
Let me see here.
I'd say we're nearly done.
We're down to 3 minutes. Let's cut it off there.
Okay. I saw my girlfriend in a dream in a white sari. I talked with her. After some interaction, I told her I wanted to marry her after I got a job. In the morning, I realized she was in fact the goddess. I see her often in the dreams. Once she was given a prize of a silver Shiva lingam. What does this indicate?
That would be the Kundalini. That means Kundalini awakening or activation.
Okay, thank you, Chrism. That's it.
Yes. Any last words, Santara?
No last words at all. Thank you.
Well, I have a last word or two. I want to thank everyone listening on the chat room. Hello, everybody there. I'd like to thank everybody who called in. I'd like to thank the people in the archives who are seeing this later on. Whenever they're seeing this, hello to you. I would like to repeat 28th and 29th in Colorado, I believe. And I would like to meet everyone there. That would be the 28th and 29th of April, 2018 in Colorado. Contact Mohan Nunes at the numbers he gave. I'd also like to invite everyone in Europe to come to Germany, to Karlsruhe in Germany, and you can contact Manisha Manish on Facebook, and I'll have to get her email number. And I just want to say thank you for everybody who is listening and everybody who has the Kundalini. Give yourself to your Kundalini, and know this. You never have permission to give your soul. Your soul belongs to God. But you can give yourself to your Kundalini because that is giving yourself to God. Thank you for listening, everyone. Here we go.